Stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Amanda, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Dalby.
Here.
Councilmember Myers.
Here.
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Stevens.
Here.
Councilmember Strebe.
Here.
Mayor Lazio.
Here.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from regular meeting number 42 on December 20th, 2016 is presented. Reappointment of Joyce Kramer to Historic Preservation Commission, term to expire January 1st, 2020. Cigarette tobacco permit for Smokes and Strokes LLC, 129 East 2nd Street, pending final inspections. Beer and/or liquor applications for Hy-Vee Food Store number 1, 1025 North Quincy. Fairway Stores, number 648, 1325 Albia Road. Dollar General Store, number 7179, 721 North Quincy. Dollar General Store, number 2898, 921 East Main. Cedar Creek Golf Course, 13120 Angle Road with outdoor service area. All applications pending final inspections.
Move the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead and take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Item C, I need a motion for approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to call on City Administrator Andy Morris, who's going to introduce a report and give us an update.
Thank you, Mayor. The item you see, there's one item listed under the report section, and that is an update from Chief McAndrew on the red speed camera. I believe we've had this in place for approximately a year now, plus or minus. Council requested that the chief come and give a presentation. That basis of the report has been shared with council members, but we wanted to do this more public, and certainly if you have any questions or comments of the chief before, during, or after this presentation, feel free to do so. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
Good evening, Chief. You have a report for us, so go ahead. You have the floor.
Good evening. This is, I'm just reading from the report that I did send out to you already. The Red Speed program began issuing citations to speed violators in March of 2016. You'll see that 67.65% of the citations were issued to vehicles registered in Ottumwa. As of the date of this report, which was December 9th, a total of 1,187 citations have been issued. The second part of the report, you'll see that 94.62% were issued to violators from Iowa. Third part of this report, there were 16 administrative hearings or appeal hearings. Mr. Jim Jackson, who is a member of the Ottumwa Public Safety Advisory Board, is our appeal judge. Of the 16 appeal hearings held, Mr. Jackson found 9 to be liable and 5 not liable. 2 people who requested the hearing did not appear. We have 3 officers that review the citations that are sent down from the Red Speed program. Lieutenant Jason Bell, he rejected 6 citations that were sent to us and approved 964 citations. Lieutenant Mick Hucks approved 36 citations, and Sergeant Steve Kovacs approved 187 of the citations. The 6 citations that were rejected by Lieutenant Bell included 4 authorized emergency vehicles that were responding to calls. This includes fire and ambulance. And 2 citations which were found to contain 2 or more vehicles in the photograph of the violator. If we do get a citation down from Red Speed and in the photograph there's 2 vehicles, we just automatically reject those. Currently there are 224 citations that are in delinquency. The average citation fine is $80, making an average of $17,920 due in delinquent fines. 193 citations have been issued and are currently going through the first notice. And the city has collected a total of $37,945 in fines since we began this program. The big question a lot of people ask is what is the speed limit set at? It's set at 13 miles per hour over the speed limit. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for the chief?
Is there a percentage that you don't expect to ever collect?
Yeah, it's like anything. Usually it's the 80-20 rule. 80% of the people are going to pay their fines, 20% 20% aren't. I think our number is probably around 75% will pay their fines.
Is there any way to collect the remainder?
There is a program that we can go through, the offset program through the state, and we have not initiated that yet, but we may do that in the future.
Thank you.
Councilman, go ahead, Earl.
Do you notice so far any downward trend of people speeding? Is there tickets going down is what they were in the beginning, or are they staying stable in the number that are being issued?
That's a real hard number to come up with, because you really don't know. What we saw when we first began this program, we had it set at 15 miles per hour over, and we did see those number of tickets start going down. That's when we went to 13 miles per hour over. Anything that I can talk about as far as slowing people down is just from people saying that they're slowing down. A lot of these people that have gotten tickets have said, now I'm not speeding because I've got a citation. But that's a hard number to come up with. It's really a hard number to determine.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mayor. Go ahead, Councilman Myers.
Chief, thank you for the report, and it certainly was inclusive. One of the things that amazes me, though, like at 13 over before they receive a ticket or the red speed is involved, in a 35, that means you're going 48, or in a 25, you're going 38 or whatever the math. But that's speeding.
Yes, I get a lot of requests that citizens say that they want it lowered.
Yeah.
But right now we've left it at 13, and it would probably, I want to discuss it with some more people before we'd ever lower it.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, I got a question. It's set at 13 right now. How does that correspond with how your officers and how they pull people over, as far as what they judge as something that they would normally pull someone over as being over the limit?
In general, our officers, when they're out doing traffic enforcement, if they're assigned to that specific task, it's usually 10 miles an hour over that they'll issue a citation.
Thank you.
I have one follow-up
Go ahead,
question.
Mark.
If you did reduce it from the 13 to 10 mile an hour over, can you quantify how many more tickets would generate from that?
I cannot. It does not record cars that are not speeding.
Okay.
Yeah, so we don't know. I'm sure it would go a lot higher in the number of tickets. But right now, the way it's set, I really feel like we're getting the message out there. People know the car's out there, and they are slowing down because they know the car's out there. I get a lot of comments about, I see a white car, I'm on the brakes. And that's what we want. We want people to slow down.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Chief, has this use been primarily in a lot of school zones? That was kind of one of the significant areas we wanted to target first. Will it be used in other areas too, as well as those, or is that still going to primarily be one of the
We
targets?
use it all over. I'm sorry. It's used all over the city. Usually it's based on complaints. I know we moved it today. We've got a meeting with the traffic committee coming up, I think on January 6th. And a citizen had complained about the speeding over on Finley. So we moved it over there. So they're wanting some signage put up, and they complained about the speeders. So we moved the car over there. What we're finding there is that there aren't that many speeders running at least 13 over. So that might have that'll be good information for the traffic committee just to decide on the signage. But we do respond to complaints, and we do urge people to call us, and if we can find a good place to park it, we'll move it around.
Have people been pretty receptive to that? Have you been getting a lot of calls from people? Has it been just a fair amount, a small amount?
I would say it's been a fair amount.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, people do call in, and they do want the car in certain areas. So the problem we have is that the way it's set up, we can't always have a good place to put the car.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Good report, and I appreciate your summary. That was a well-written summary. Item E on our agenda is an opportunity for any citizen to comment on any item on the agenda. So if there's anybody that wants to talk about something on the agenda, now is the time to identify yourself. Okay, we'll move forward then.
Consideration of acknowledgement settlement agreement between the City of Ottumwa and Casey's Marketing, doing business as Casey's General Store. Recommendation, authorize the mayor to sign the order accepting acknowledgement settlement agreement for Casey's General Store located at 1603 West 2nd.
Is there a motion? Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Chief.
Thank you. On November 11th, 2016, an employee at a local tobacco retailer sold a tobacco product to a person under the age of 18. The business was Casey's General Store located at 1603 West 2nd Street. For the first violation of selling tobacco to a minor, the Iowa Code requires that the business be assessed a $300 civil penalty. The actual cigarette permit holder for the business has submitted a check to the city of Ottumwa in the amount of $300 and signed a settlement agreement for the penalty. The remaining step in the process is for the city council to authorize the mayor to sign the order accepting the settlement.
Any questions for the chief? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Consideration of acknowledgement settlement agreement between the city of Ottumwa and Casey's Marketing doing business as Casey's General Store. Recommendation, authorize the mayor to sign the order accepting acknowledgement settlement agreement for Casey's General Store located at 504 West Mary Street.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Go ahead, Chief.
On November 11th, 2016, an employee at a local tobacco retailer sold a tobacco product to a person under the age of 18. The business was Casey's General Store located at 504 West Mary Street in Ottumwa. For the first violation of selling tobacco to a minor, the Iowa Code requires that the business be assessed a $300 civil penalty. The actual cigarette permit holder for the business has submitted a check to the city of Ottumwa in the amount of $300 and signed the settlement agreement for the penalty. The remaining step in the process is for the city council to authorize the mayor to sign the order accepting the settlement.
Any questions for the chief on this? Pretty straightforward. Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Jefferson Street Bridge repairs 2017. I received no objections on this item.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so Larry, go ahead and then we'll.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This project consists of providing all the labor, materials, and equipment to repair sprawled and deteriorating concrete, replacement of bridge deck expansion joints, spot cleaning involving lead chromium paint repair, and painting of existing structural steel in the vicinity of the joint replacement on the Jefferson Street Bridge. Construction on this project shall begin with a late start date of April 3rd, 2017, and be completed in 65 working days. Bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa January 31st, 2017. A bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented to the City Council meeting on February 7th, 2017. The engineer's opinion of probable cost is $1.292 and $150. You can see the funding sources. We've got 3 different CIPs as we've been gearing up for this project for a total of $1.5 million available. We have a small PowerPoint presentation. We always kind of want to walk you through this to get a little bit better understanding what this entails. Go to the next one, Tom. This is some of the deterioration you can see. Over the years, we've had different joints that leak. We've had several different repairs in the existing joints, which consisted of replacing the gland joint material. Last time we did this, we had to get a hold of the original manufacturer, and they had to extrude new actual rubber inserts. The joint has now exceeded its useful life. As you can see, we're going to have to not only put in new joints. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. We're going to actually cut out the joints at the bridge, put in new joints, cast in new concrete, and then there's also some steel deck beams that have to be replaced. This is a picture of one of the rockers that's been seized for some time. A couple different times we went out for bids and we didn't receive any bids on this. We're not real sure how the contractor will do it. They will have to jack up at least the dead load while there's no traffic on it and figure out a way to either unseize or remove and replace and reconstruct that. That would be something we'll just have to look at in the field. This is just more shots of where we've had deterioration through the flanges and in some of the pack rust that's developed over time in the buildup structures. And again, you can see some of the web reinforcement. This is just salt damage over the years of use of the bridge. This is a pretty good shot of where the gland is actually torn. You can see where it had multiple runners that would expand and contract together. In the last repair, we actually put in a lot of the aluminum we just had to remanufacture at a local machine shop. This joint will actually remove that entire aluminum structure and install a different style, along with repairing all that concrete that's cast into those end beams. There are a few of those beams that will have to be replaced with this project. This is a top view of the same joint. You can see where it's actually broke away from the deck. What they do is they'll determine how far back in the deck they need to go in order to cast in the new joints, and then you'll see a whole different type and style of joint. And this is just one of the areas of the walk. This is where the expansion joint, and this has moved more than its design, basically because of the seized rocker. So instead of spreading that expansion and contraction out over the length of the bridge, it has moved all of the expansion into one joint, which really went beyond what that joint was designed for. So it's created some additional problems because of that. And again, just a real good shot of what we found once we get underneath and get our hands on the steel. Depending on the area, replacement versus reinforcement, that'll all be determined in the plan set and then, of course, done by the contractor. Same thing, you can see up in the built-up structure, anytime you have riveted structures, you can see the pack rust forming where it's deformed the existing metal. Certain ones will be removed and replaced, other ones will be cleaned, and then we will paint and preserve approximately 10 to 15 feet around the joint area. Again, same type of deterioration, just a better shot of that location at a distance. One of the things that we're looking at and one of the determinations that we made through this particular study is how much longer do we think the superstructure of this bridge has? The engineers estimating somewhere around 20 to 25 years, and time will tell on that before the entire thing has to be replaced. Real good shot of that rocker that's seized, kind of give an idea of the size. You can see that the inside dimension is approximately 12 inches. Another really good shot of the joint, another joint area that has deteriorated over time. You can see on some of that's fine. We got pack rust all over the bridge. That's one of the things that we're going to try to seal up. Most of that pack rust is around the joints, and that's just from salt penetration of the deck over time that's caused this. Another shot of an expansion joint. You can see where the deck is deteriorating. That will be removed and replaced. Same thing, more shots. Is there any questions, any specific questions the council has as far as some of these repairs?
Any questions for Larry? This is a good visual, Larry. I really appreciate
It's hard to describe something or a project like this until you have the pictures in front of you, until you're on deck. You don't realize some of the deterioration. Of course, when you look at the original age of this structure and years of service, it's done quite well. A lot of this will have epoxy injection to extend the life of these piers and to extend service life.
My good clerk is reminding me this is still a public hearing, so is there anyone in the audience that wants to address this or have any questions about the bridge repair? If not, I'd move to close the public hearing first, and then we'll take council action.
Second.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Resolution number 4, 2017, approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Jefferson Street Bridge repairs 2017. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 4, 2017.
Move the recommendation is presented.
Second. Thank you. Now let's take questions. Yes, Mayor, I have a question. Go ahead, Bob. Yeah, I also, Larry, were the pictures taken then in-house by your staff?
Some of these were out of the original inspection book when they come in with the snooper truck and reach over.
Okay. They're really descriptive, though. On the amount of time that is estimated, the 65 days, whatever, since a lot of that is underneath, is the 65 days pretty accurate, or will weather conditions possibly determine or lengthen that time?
Well, that's one of the things that when we have a structural engineer on a specialized project like this, we really rely on their expertise to set the number of days. We make some assumptions that they will run 2 crews and start in the middle and go both directions, where you're doing joints from the center out for you know, so to speak. You don't paint yourself into a corner. Depending on how they set it up and how many crews they run, they'll determine that. They'll need to look at the working days and decide if they need 1 crew, 2 crews, how they'll do it.
Okay. Thank you.
As a follow-up to that, we don't run the risk of having another Market Street bridge on our hands, do we?
Not on this one. You know, the river, it's not really river dependent. It's not, they're not going to work from the river, so the level of the river will not have the same impact. Everything will be done from above.
Thank you.
This might cause some traffic congestion, though, depending on how much time we get done with the bridge work as well as the East Main Street.
Correct. There will be some overlap in those projects. The intersection will be closed. We've got some traffic control, you know, at least designed to try to minimize that impact. But that bridge will be shut down. The main traffic flow will have to come over Market.
So we'll appreciate working with our media people to be sure that our general public's aware that they'll have to find some different routes to get to and from. So
Correct.
thanks. Any other questions or comments, Matt?
Larry, I got a quick question, and I remember you including me on this search for the contractor back, several months ago on this. With this being just on the joint replacement, spot cleaning and stuff, you mentioned there was 20 to 25 years of useful life left in the bridge. Was that just, and I can't remember, when we went back and worked with some of these different contractors and the estimates that we had got, we thought that the deck was going to last a certain amount of years, and then with this expansion joint replacement, that was going to extend the life maybe possibly to 20 to 25 years because that deck was in fairly good shape.
Correct. The deck looks good. It's the superstructure underneath that we've experienced a lot of pack rust. Anytime you have built up structures, that just makes a point for rust to start developing. If there's a way to keep each of those joints sealed, that would be better. But what we've basically experienced over the years is as these joints fail and as we go in and replace the glands, you still get times that you have salt and material that get into the joints and accelerate the deterioration.
Looking long term, at the end of 20 years, we'd looked at throwing out some numbers of possibly what a new bridge would cost, and it's up there in the millions and millions of dollars. Correct. And even with a design of a bridge that was much less extravagant than this one would be, with just a straight beam bridge, was still quite expensive. When would be the time would need to think about starting to budget for that, or even look at whether we need to continue on with 3 bridges? I mean, that's going to be a huge consideration.
That would be the first determination. You're going to have to decide, and that of course changes over time, but is that something that we want to replace? That's the first question. We used to have Vine Street Bridge also that eventually reached its useful life, and the decision at that time was simply to demolish it. That discussion will take place, and then after that, I would say at about the 10-year mark, we'll start looking at funding. It's probably very similar to the Market Street Bridge. As the rating starts to deteriorate, then we need to start looking at funding options. You sat through the selection process and heard some of the proposals of how you would reduce the cost. All makes sense. I mean, you do try to reduce the number of spans you have.
Right.
You'd go from that point.
Okay. Thank you.
And just to reassure the public, you are still part of the bridge inspection program, so the state is coming in and monitoring our work, so.
Right. All of our designs, inspections, this one was considered a maintenance item. We tried to get it pulled under the bridge program and get some funding for it, very similar to what we used for Market Street. But they considered this maintenance and not complete replacement of the deck. So that's how we ended up using local funds, but it's guided by all the same design standards that's required for all of your bridge inspections and maintenance and construction.
Any other questions or comments? Are you ready to vote? Take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Member Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Resolution number 3, 2017, approving change order number 1 for contract D for the beach renovations phase 1 project, increasing contract $56,600, revised contract amount $197,424. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 3, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second. Thank you, Bob. Good evening, Gene. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city council approved the contract in the amount of $140,824 to Christner Contracting of Ottumwa, Iowa through resolution number 251, 2016 on October 18th, 2016 for contract D, general building repairs for the beach renovation phase 1 project. Change order number 1 consists of adding 2 items. Bid alternate number 1 and bid alternate number 2 from when the project originally bid. These bid alternates were not awarded at the time of contract award due to funding limitations. With the advent of the new year, Phase 2 funding is now available if needed. The remainder of Phase 1 contingency funding will be used before any Phase 2 funds are used. $700,000 is available for Phase 1 and $700,000 is available for Phase 2. Bid alternate number 1 totals $27,800 and consists of replacing the lobby suspended ceiling and lighting. Bid alternate number 2 totals $28,800 and consists of replacing 2 lobby roll-up doors with concrete masonry units and aluminum entrance doors, as well as replacing all the insulated glass units along the south wall of the training pool. The total increase in the contract totals $56,600. Completion date remains May 19th, 2017. And you can see the funding breakdown. The total project cost to date are $702,490.55.
Are there any questions for Gene?
I just have one.
Mark, go ahead.
So far, you're up to 702,490. Have you started thinking about how you're going to control those cost overruns for the next fiscal cycle?
I haven't myself. Generally, I've been working with Dwight on this project, and technically Dwight is running the project, but in the next fiscal cycle, we plan on another $700,000 worth of repairs in 2017. So that's probably a question for Dwight.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Dwight. Dwight Doman is our city engineer. For those of you who do not recognize him, you have the floor, Dwight.
Thank you, Mayor. Like we did on Phase 1, we had bid alternate items, and whether we choose to award them or not depends upon the funding availability and how the bids come in. Phase 2 will be modeled the same way with a base bid and several alternate bids, and we'll just award as funding is available.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, are you ready to vote? Take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you, Dwight. I'm glad to see that moving forward. We also offer citizens an opportunity to comment on any item that they want to bring to the city's attention. Is there anybody that wants to bring up an item tonight? Okay. Hearing none, the only thing, glad to see Bob here. He's been doing some heavy lifting, as you can see with his arm there, but the heavy lifting resulted in a great audit report. So thank you for that, Bob, and outstanding job from you and Christy again. So appreciate that. Andy, is there anything else you want to comment on?
Mayor, I don't have anything else. At the upcoming meetings, we had some staff discussions about this, and that is some augmentations to the fee structure, some of the fees in the fire department. But again, that all things being equal, would like to mention that at the first February meeting. I don't have anything else, Mayor, other than what we talked about at staff this morning, and that is the goal setting session we had. Jeff Schout, University of Iowa, we're starting to establish the follow-up items that'll be as a part of that moving forward. In fact, our first meeting on that will be a week from yesterday.
Okay, very good. Is there any other business? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Thank you all and good night. It's 6 p.m.
Good show.
So we didn't. Did we set up?
I haven't heard of any.